Hello everybody, it's Olivier Leca from Saving to Freedom Back. So let's start that new video series with that series about inflation. Okay, so as you can see now on my screen, basically the best definition I found about inflation was made by Chris Martenson on his crash course. It's very good, and we're gonna go together through it because it's really good one. But I recommend you to go check out that website and check out that video series. It will take a little bit of your time, but it will be a great investment in your future, I promise you. So what about inflation? Well, one of the biggest misconceptions about inflation is that inflation is the rise of prices, which is not. Basically, inflation is due to the value of your money going down, and your money is losing value, and for buying the same goods you have to now spend more. So the increasing of price is only a symptom. What's really happening is that your money is being devaluated. A good example to show how the amount of money in circulation is influencing that, and how inflation is truly created by having too much money in circulation. Let's take an example, very simple. Think about a group of people who are on a raft in the middle of the ocean, okay? And one of these people has an orange and wants to sell it. So he put it on the market, and everybody's looking in the pockets, and well, one person find a $1 bill. So therefore the price of the orange is set up to $1. But just before the moment to sell it, another person find a $10 bill. Well, then suddenly the price of the orange jumped to $10. And so you can see that the intrinsic value of the orange hasn't changed at all. What has changed is the amount of currency available in that environment, and you can take that to the scale of a full economy. So we can understand from there that basically inflation is everywhere and always a monetary phenomenon. And as we will see just a little bit later, what's very important to understand as well is monetary policies have a big influence on inflation and how to regulate it. It's not just some kind of monster that just appears from nowhere. So the next slide, I really like it. It's a very good graph. What Chris is doing there basically is showing the history of inflation through a 300-year period in the US. And it's really interesting, because from the beginning you will see that for a 100-year period, as you can see on that graph, there was no inflation. And the first inflation, well, just let me just tell you what's inflation. How do you calculate inflation? Well, basically you are taking the cost, you are calculating the cost of living at a certain period, how much it costs to buy a house, how much it costs to get some grocery, etc., etc. We can see that the first difference happened with the first war, the Revolutionary War, and then we start to see the first peak of inflation. Wars are always inflationist. Why? Well, because when you are at war, the government is spending more to sustain the war, most of the time getting into a deficit, and this deficit needs to be financed, and most of the time it's financed by the printing of some paper money. And that's what happened with the Revolutionary War. But as you can see, just after that war, there was an adjustment to almost go back to the same cost of living. And why is that? Well, that was due to the fact that we were at that period on a gold standard, meaning that our paper money was backed by gold. And people, what happened is people just after the war decided to ask more payment in gold instead of paper, and it regulated back by itself. So I'm just gonna go a bit faster across here, but we can see that there's been multiple wars, like the civil wars coming up, and every time every war has created some inflation push, but the market has regulated it because we were on a gold standard. But then the First and Second World War happens, and at that moment I want you to remember one thing, is at that moment the Federal Reserve has been created and is pushing on moving us further and further from a gold standard. It's the beginning of what we call fractionary banking, that we will learn a bit more to understand through another videos. But basically our currency is not good anymore, not as good as backed up by gold anymore. And we can see that then there is suddenly the Vietnam War arrives. Sorry about that. And what's happened is that at that moment there has been a big thing. We have been out of the gold standard since 1971. That's a decision of President Nixon. And what we can see is after that, inflation never goes back to its previous level. Inflation only goes up and up and up. So therefore there is a big importance on policies and monetary policy which has been decided in understanding that injection of money in the economy will create inflation, as well as government deficit, and the fact to be on a paper currency. So I hope that that really clarified a little bit the concept of inflation for you, and I look forward to another video explaining some of the key concepts about money and economy. Until then, have a great day. Bye bye.